Hey, everybody. Guess who's back? I was on a 3-month hiatus from the Healing Place podcast and just trying to catch up on life. My daughter was graduating from high school, my third and final baby leaving the nest, and started a new job. Then I switched to another new job because I realized that my body in my 50s just did not want to work those late hours from the first new job. It was in the healing arena, which I loved, but the hours were just crazy, and it was wearing me down. I was working until 7:15. By the time I got home, made dinner, or family would wait for me to eat dinner. I would settle in at 8:30, and then I was just exhausted, so I just wasn't able to focus and get much done outside of that work. Um, so it was a good break, and we talk about self care a lot on the show. So I gave myself a self care break instead of putting a lot of pressure on myself to get the show done and writing. I've been working too on finishing my manuscript, meeting with newfound friends, one of whom is the founder and CEO of Pink Magazine here on Hilton Head Island, and I was featured in June's edition, which is really cool. So if you want to go to Pink Magazine online, you can look at the featured women for June, and you'll find the article on me, which I just feel very blessed and honored to have been a part of. Oh my gosh, our book, The Caregiver Chronicles, is really blossoming. But money will be donated to charity for that. I don't know if we've done the announcement on that yet or not, but when we do, I will share that. And what else fun stuff has been happening? The book, been invited to do some speaking gigs, which is really cool. And narrating, I have not done any more narrating. I took a pause on that as well, but I do have 7 books out there. So if you go to Audible and type in Teri Wellbrock, TeriWellbrock, you can find the books that I've narrated and some pretty awesome reviews on that as well. So, all right, that's the lowdown on everything. I am still doing financial guidance for those of you who are looking for financial care, as well as through this podcast, spiritual, mental, physical episodes. So go to my website, teriwellbrock.com. And there's a tab for request a quote, and I will be happy to work up some numbers for you for all kinds of products. I represent 30 different companies, so we can meet via Zoom or we can have a phone call. And I'm not high pressure sales. Let's just chat. Let's just have a conversation if you're wanting to look at your financial health. So I have some great programs, like a debt-free life program. That's really awesome. All right, folks. Well, such a great conversation with Donna has been with me on the show. This, I think, is now the 3rd time, and she has a lot going on that is just going to be such a benefit to you. So, yeah, now for today's episode. I've missed you all. Welcome, everybody, to the Healing Place podcast. I'm your host, Teri Wellbrock, and as always, so very happy to have Donna Jenson here with me. And so she is the founder of Time to Tell and author of Healing My Life from Incest to Joy, and has an exciting announcement about that book that we're going to talk about in just a second. So welcome, Donna.
Oh, thank you. And thank you for having me back, Teri. I always
well,
feel so well included in the beautiful work you do.
Thank you. I know we've done an interview before, maybe 2, but I know you came and joined me on the Facebook Live series when I did the pandemic self-care, which was really awesome. That garnered, I think I had like 36 previous podcast guests come join me on that series, and it garnered over 100,000 views total.
Beautiful.
Yeah, so I loved it that folks were tuning in from really all over Facebook and all over the world to
amazing.
your beautiful work. So yeah.
Thank
So
you.
remind people before we dive into your exciting announcements, for those who may have not met you before through the show, about Time to Tell and the work you're doing there.
So yes, Time to Tell. I'd say the backbone of Time to Tell is we run writing circles online for survivors of sexual violence and abuse. And that's a wonderful thing because I write with everybody, I write along with every circle, and I just keep I keep getting more material for the next book I'm going to write. So, but it's a great way for survivors to be in community with each other because we write in real time, we read our writing, and we give each other positive feedback for the writing that's just been read. So it's a wonderful process. And in the writing circle, I have moderators who listen to the writing, who are also survivors, and they construct collages that have images reflecting the writing circle's work that morning or evening. And we've just put together a collage exhibit, a traveling exhibit that's going to be that's already gone to about I think about a 6 or 7 city tour, and we're looking to take it wherever anybody wants. I could even show you one
Yes, I would love
collage
that.
sitting
Yes, for
right
those.
here on my desk. Can I share? Could you have a screen share for me?
I do. Hold on. Let me just click on here and say multiple. Let's see if that gives you permission. If not, I'll do some.
Yeah, yeah. Here we go.
Awesome.
So here's an amazing collage
Oh,
that
wow.
Caro Ska designed, and all the writers' pieces are in some way reflected in these images. And so then a week later, they get their collage. So we have dozens of them. This has been going on quite a while, and so we picked. I'm going to stop the share here. So we picked, I think it's 15, and we have this beautiful display that we put up, and we've taken it to conferences, and we've taken it to organizations that where I might do a writing circle there. I'm going to do that in January in New Hampshire.
Oh,
So
that's wonderful.
yeah, so our writing circles are really the backbone of Time to Tell. And then I have my book, What She Knows. Healing My Life. No, that's my play. What She Knows. One woman's way through incest to joy. That's my one woman show that I perform with a musical accompaniment, a guitarist, and then my book, which I just did in audiobook form, which you're very familiar with doing audiobooks. It was an amazing experience because I narrated it myself, Healing My Life from Incest to Joy. And I'm getting some beautiful pieces of feedback from survivors who say things like, I take your book on my morning walks and I feel like you're walking with me. It's so neat, So yeah, so
Yes.
I'm very
Well,
excited about the audiobook.
I'm very excited by the audiobook. I mean, I have your hard copy. It's over here on my shelves,
Uh-huh.
and
Yeah.
such a treasure to have. And so, yeah,
Oh,
I mean, to be able to hear, well, one, your voice telling
hmm.
your story, I
Right.
mean, it's just very powerful.
Yeah. Yeah. The
Yeah.
other thing I'm doing is I've teamed up with a very longtime colleague and dear friend. Her name is Rena Bernards. Rena Bernards, who's a therapist, and she and I are running workshops for therapists, helping survivors heal within the therapeutic setting. And I think we're the only one where it's a team of a therapist and a survivor who's been in the movement for many years. And we're getting great. We've done, I think, 4 or 5 of them so far. They're online. And we'd actually like to do them in person. But she's in Maryland and I'm up in Massachusetts. So I'm not sure how often we're going to be able to figure that out. But anyway, a lot of therapists say this is the first time they've had professional training specifically on what to keep in mind and how to attend to their clients who are survivors. And It's interesting. A couple of therapists reached out and said, "Well, I don't know. I don't think I don't have any clientele that are survivors." And I said, "Well, you just might."
Yeah.
I mean, you know how many survivors the first time they come out is to a therapist, you
Right.
know. And depending on how that therapist receives their disclosure can really set the stage of how they go forward in disclosing, beyond that in their life. So it's a really important, I'm really happy to be doing that work.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, I can tell you in my late 40s, I had gone back to therapy after 20 something
Mhm.
years of not being in therapy
Yeah.
and decided, oh, I think it's time. It's time. So I had this list, right? And on the
Yeah.
top was a toxic friendship that was causing me just a lot of
Uh-huh.
heartache. I
Yeah.
was in the middle of a disillusionment in my marriage, a divorce.
Nah.
Because of that, I had my problem or a relationship issue with my teenage son, who was angry with me for leaving his father. My alcoholic mother was number 4, and then down at number 5 was, as a little PS, oh yeah, my
Huh.
trauma history, sexual abuse
Yeah.
and being molested and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, yeah,
And that was
yeah.
like the little PS to all these other things,
Right.
right?
Which is
It's
the holding the foundation of all of
right,
it. Yeah.
right. Like all of that, number 5 was
Hmm.
infiltrated into the other 4.
Right.
So
Right.
yeah,
Wow.
and you're right, because the
Yeah.
therapist was, wise enough to be like, I had my list and was like, so what's this number 5? Like, what's this? Oh, this little PS.
By the way,
By the
yeah.
way, yeah.
Great. Well, sounds like you had a good therapist. I'm
Yes,
glad.
for sure.
I'm glad
Yeah.
for you.
Well,
Yeah.
and she was really cool. What I loved about her was she realized that the intensity of my trauma history was beyond her scope. As
Mm.
we were doing talk therapy, like CBT, cognitive
Hmm.
behavioral therapy.
Hmm.
And so she was the one that said to me, and it was the first time I'd ever heard it, Teri, have you ever considered EMDR therapy? And
I knew you were going to say EMDR.
I was like, what the heck is EMDR?
It's magic. It is
Oh,
magic.
yes. Yeah,
I've done it at 2 different points in my healing journey, and wow, I just
I'm
it's
right with you.
amazing.
I've done it
Yep.
at 2 different points in my healing journey,
Yep.
and
Yep.
I say it was life altering for me. It
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
helped me
Well,
process things.
I say it cleaned the swamp.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. Yeah, for sure. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
Yeah. So
Well,
I
I
guess
have
we
to,
highly recommend this to anybody
yeah,
listening.
exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm so glad to hear, because I was going to ask you, one of the questions I had was that you're doing
Mm.
your one woman show still.
Uh-huh.
And
Yeah.
yeah, and I think you and I had maybe discussed it the last time, or maybe I had read something, because I get your newsletters and I always read your
Hmm.
newsletters, which I love. So
Thank you.
everybody, please sign up for Donna's
Hmm.
newsletters. And I think maybe you had talked about the having the music accompaniment
Yeah.
to it.
Yeah.
So
And in fact, the music is also in the book, the audio book. I have an amazing partner, creative partner named John Sheldon, who's a guitarist, a master guitarist. And so he accompanies me when I perform the play. And then he also accompanied me. What he did with the audiobook was he played music in between, playing people out of one chapter and into the next. And I've gotten a lot of feedback that it's a wonderful reprise for people as they're taking in, what's going on in the book. So yeah, and the play I haven't performed since before the pandemic, but I just got a call from somebody in upstate New York that's interested in bringing us up for performance. So fingers crossed that'll work.
yeah.
And I actually I forgot the other thing we're doing with Time to Tell. We produced a documentary that's a 35-minute documentary called Telling is Healing. And the focus is really about relationships, survivors to people who are not survivors, and the importance for the health of those relationships. And so what we've been, and I have an ally of mine in the film with me. We're doing some dialogue, and then I show clips from the play and a book reading. But I've been using the play. I mean, you can cut all this out.
Oh, it's fine. I do the same. It's good. I'll be like, that word, that thing.
Yeah, no. Although these bloopers can sometimes be very entertaining.
Right.
No, but so anyway, so I really like showing the film on Zoom and having a survivors invite some ally in their life, whether it's a family member, a friend, a therapist, whatever, and they watch it at the same time. And then I put them into separate support groups, one for allies and one for survivors. And the thing I've been so enamored and happy about is, especially, the survivors just love being together. And for some of them, that's the first time they're in community with survivors. But the allies have never had any conversation with other allies, or very rare. And it's, it's kind of hush hush. And here it's not a therapy group, but it's a facilitated conversation. And always there are allies that come that say, when's the next meeting? Which is great. We haven't quite figured that piece out yet, but, and I've gotten feedback where a husband who's a survivor said, coming to this film together, it opened up our way of having a conversation that we've never done before. So that's very encouraging. Yeah, because I just think these relationships are so important, just so important.
Oh, for sure. I think about my older children, and now that they're adults and we're able to have these conversations, but the first time my kids heard it, I had been invited to speak at a YWCA when I lived in Cincinnati, and it was a survivors week. Like the mayor was there, and it was my first time speaking, but I stood up in front of my family and told what I call my story of hope, but I included what had happened to me. And I just remember looking out in the audience and seeing the tears just falling down my kids' faces, because I don't think they realized the impact of the trauma and what their mother had been through. And so, to be able to offer that kind of support, not just to survivors, you're right, but to those who love and support survivors. That's incredible, Donna. That's really cool.
Right. And what Suzanne, my ally that did this whole piece of work with me, and she's been a supporter of Time to Tell for many years, but she talks about what kind of healing journey she's been on in being an ally to me on my healing journey. That it's actually exposing the secret has been healthy for her. So it's really, I'm really pleased with the film. So
well, that's very exciting. What's the name of the film?
Telling is Healing.
Telling is healing. And so can people
does this go backwards or forward?
Oh yeah, no, that's it. That's awesome. Can people see it anywhere, or can they rent it?
No.
Okay.
They can connect with me, and I'll bring it to their organization through Zoom or in person, either way, because I feel like it needs attention. It can't just be seen on its own. It's really something that's a tool for healing.
I love it.
But
well,
it's on my website, and if anybody's interested, just get in touch, and I'd be happy to talk with them.
Yeah, timetotell.org, right?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, cool. Yeah. Wow. Well, you have so much going on. I'm so impressed.
I do.
You do.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I love it. I love it. But, again, when I've found that as I do this work, I call it my soul work, because it doesn't even feel like work.
I know.
It's just a passion.
We're so lucky. We're so lucky to be doing what our passion is all about. Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
In
Yeah.
taking our pain and turning it into purpose. I think another guest had said that to
Nice way
me
of putting
once.
it. Yep.
Yeah,
For
yeah,
sure. Yeah.
wonderful. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. So, yeah, any other exciting stuff? You have so much going on. I'm like, I don't
Oh,
know which
that's,
direction to
yeah.
take it.
I guess the one thing I'm doing that it's not quite time to tell, but kind of sort of. My daughter runs leadership training retreats for wellness coaches. And she's running a retreat in Costa Rica next month. And she asked me to come out and be a guest co-leader. So I think that's so cool.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
Are there still
Yeah.
spaces available if anybody wants to
No,
sign
no,
up?
she's way full. Yeah.
Way cool.
It's about
Okay.
30 people going, I think. So, yeah, so I'm going to do writing workshop and then about relationships, a little workshop about relationships.
Yeah.
And
Well,
hang out with my daughter in the sunshine, which is just yay. I love that idea.
yeah.
So,
Well, I took her
yeah.
TikTok course, which was awesome because I learned
Oh,
so
that's
much about.
right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that was fun. I just haven't been on TikTok in a while, but it was
Uh-huh.
I mean it was very beneficial to learn
Oh,
about
good.
the impact of social media, and
Hmm.
yeah, it was
Hmm.
it was great. I learned a lot.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
wonderful.
She's quite a dynamo, my daughter. Yeah.
Yes.
Very proud of her. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so awesome. Well,
Yeah.
cool.
So that's
All
that.
right. Well, we've talked about time to tell. So let's talk about your book a little bit, Healing My Life from
Sure.
Incest to Joy. Um,
Mm.
you know, that's just
So
one of those topics. It's heavy, but you've taken um the heavy part of it and the incest part of it,
mm,
that sexual abuse part of it, and
hmm.
turned it into such a gift for those who are survivors. Oh,
Yeah.
my light just flickered brighter in my
I
office.
I
I like a
guess the
disco.
spirits are telling you, yes, this
I
book is
know.
so good
Wow.
for survivors.
Woo! That was crazy. Like it got
Yeah,
we've shown the light down on it, right?
indeed. Indeed. I want to say that it was really important for me to put the word incest in the title because it's still such a taboo word. I mean, the only place I see the word incest in mainstream um, media or anything mainstream is if it has to do with abortion. You know,
Right.
should there be abortions allowed because of incest? That's the only place I hear the people talking about, the
The
voices that
word.
have big platforms. That's the only way the word is used, and it's
Right.
so frustrating to me because it mixes it all up. I mean, it's an issue, but anyway. But I still felt it had to have that word incest in it. Conversely, there's very little about the incest in the book. There's 99.9% is about my healing and all the ways I went for healing, all the ways I received healing, surprisingly, so it's just interesting, but I'm still convinced and feel right that I kept the word in the title, even
Yes.
though some people told me not to, but
Right.
yeah.
I just think it's so very important that you are talking about it. It's those
Right.
quote unquote taboo subjects, those
Right.
subjects
Right.
that people don't want to talk about that need to be talked about.
Right. Right.
Um, that so yeah, and I know it's and I'm just curious, I don't know, when people see the title of your book,
Mm-hmm.
are they then intrigued? Are they I would think that people would be like, oh my gosh, like I want to read, how does someone go from incest to joy?
Yeah, I worked really hard on the title because having joy and incest in the same phrase is like, what? It's interesting. There was I did a reading in Chicago, and this woman who's a lawyer, she had my book under her arm, and she said, I just want you to know that your book is so hard to pick up and impossible to put down.
Oh,
And I was so touched by that. So I've repeated that statement a lot because I think that's absolutely true. I think the minute somebody sees the word incest, it's jarring, and oh, I don't want to go there, and but yeah, I don't know
yeah.
if I've finished a full sentence there,
No,
but
I got it. That's about, no, it summed it up perfect.
yeah, okay,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Um,
Again, just, for those of us who share our truths, and
yeah.
that's what you do with your writing circles, which again is another beautiful
Mhm,
gift to survivors,
mhm,
is by sharing our truths. One, it's liberating. Two,
mhm.
that's where soul connections happen. I mean, I'm sure you
Right.
see it in your writing circles as
Oh
people
yeah.
share.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
that you don't feel
Yeah.
so alone. I know when I started
Right.
to finally put my truth out there, I would get private messages or texts or phone calls from people. They didn't want to respond on my post,
Right.
but they would reach out to me privately and say,
Right.
"Oh my gosh, I never told anybody, but."
Right. Isn't it amazing? Every survivor I know that tells has those kinds of responses. I've never told anyone, but I'm telling you. So, I mean, the more we tell, the better. It's a. There's a thought I had I wanted to capture. Oh well, keep talking. It'll come back
It'll
to
come
me.
back.
The good ones usually do.
Exactly, exactly. Or you can call me later and be like, "Hey, I remembered
Ah,
it."
and
And right, exactly.
right, right,
Oh
right.
my gosh. Well, how are we doing on our
Oh,
time? Oh, wow. All right. We have about 4 minutes left or so.
okay.
Yeah. So is there anything else that you wanted to touch upon or share with the audience? Any, I don't know, maybe some thoughts for them to move forward in their healing journeys?
Well, this is, I don't know, does anybody listen to you that's not a survivor?
I'd say
Here's,
yes. My
so,
audience is a mix of trauma survivors, those with
mhm,
particularly ACE scores of 4 or more, adverse
right,
childhood
hmm
experiences,
hmm
and those who are trauma recovery advocates, so social workers
right,
and therapists and so
right,
forth.
right. Well, I should let you know the next time I'm doing my therapist workshop.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
let me know and I'll stick it out on my social media because I have a lot
great,
on my
great.
Facebook
You
page.
got a lot of social media. I know
Yeah.
that about you. But one of the things I talk about when I use the collage exhibit, that there are three, and I think survivors need to hold on to this too, actually. But there are three things that, if these are the only three things that a survivor hears from someone: I believe you, that never should have happened, and it wasn't your fault. Any one of those things can be such an opening for a survivor to hear that. So I just wanted that, those were I wanted to be sure to say that.
Well,
The
as a
other thing I
survivor,
wanted to be sure to
thank you.
say, oh, you're welcome.
Yes. I
The
mean,
other thing I just remembered what I wanted to say. When I started I was 15 years in my healing journey before I built a relationship with a survivor. I was very afraid to, I didn't want to know any other survivors. It was hard enough to carry my own stuff, to have to hear others. And then I did. And I have been blown away over and over again by how much deeper the healing goes when you're in community with other survivors in a really healthy structure. Um, and I hear that time and time again with people coming to our circles, that yes, it's really good for them to find their own voice, but to be in community, you're belonging. You belong. This identity belongs somewhere. It's okay. So I just want to encourage all the survivors listening to this: make relationships with other survivors. Make healthy relationships with other survivors. Yeah.
yes. Well, beautiful messages. Thank you. And again, as you spoke
Okay.
and said, I believe you, and it was not your fault. And
Hmm.
I had goosebumps because, yeah,
Yeah,
how long
I
I walked
know.
around with that
Right,
feeling of guilt. Like,
right.
did
The
I
blame.
did
Yeah.
I somehow give off an energy that said,
Oh, yeah.
you know,
And that takes forever to shed. That was like, of all the things I had to shed in my healing, shedding that shame that didn't belong to me,
yeah,
huge. And it still
yeah,
can kind of, you know, zip up
yeah.
to the surface every once in a while.
One thing to share with you, and my mom passed away on my
Yeah,
birthday in March. But
amazing.
what was so fascinating about my mom in my healing journey,
Mm.
she was a severe alcoholic my entire life, but in her early 80s, she went on a 2.5 year sobriety. And so she gave up drinking
Mm.
in her 80s, but it was after I had stood at the foot of a hospital bed sobbing to her,
Mm.
Mom, it is time you deal with your childhood traumas. Like, you were obviously diving into the vodka, the bottle,
Mm.
to get away from something, try to cover something. And in that moment, in that hospital room, in that emergency room, she set it free, Donna, and told me things I had never known, that she had never told another soul at
Wow.
82, 83, whatever she was at that time.
Oh, me
And
chills.
told me about the neighbor across the street who had done horrific things to her as a 4-year-old child. And so her opening up allowed her that opportunity to then to start doing some healing work in her 80s. And
Isn't
so
that wonderful?
it's never too
Oh,
late. Like, I
no.
yeah. So I just had to add that
And
piece. So
so your healing journey, all the work you did to get you to stand at the bottom of that hospital bed. Oh my goodness. Huge. Because if you hadn't said that to her, she might never have, cracked open.
right.
So
Oh, thank you. Yes, it's true.
bravo.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Making my heart
Healing
smile.
begets, yes, healing begets healing.
Yeah. Well, and I do. I love that generational part of it. Like my kids,
Oh,
I tell
yeah.
them all the time, they're so much further ahead of me on the curve because
Oh, I
they're
know.
doing their healing work now in their
Yeah.
20s.
Right.
And it's just such a gift for them to just be
Right.
able to have witnessed
Right.
not only me, but then they watch their grandmother do it in her 80s. So there
Amazing.
you go.
So good. So
Yeah.
good. Wow.
So, well, thank you for sharing those insights. How do folks
Mm.
connect with you? How do they work with you and find you and download
Time
your
to
audio book?
tell. Time to tell.org. It's all there. All the things we do is on the website. There's a way to reach out to me and get in touch. I'm happy to respond to anybody that reaches out. I'd love to.
Oh, wonderful. Yes. And
Yeah.
I'll do some separate posts for you for
Oh, thank
and
you.
shares for sure on the work you're doing with therapists. I'll put an audiobook link out. So yeah, folks,
Mm.
go to the Facebook page and find all that fun stuff if you're looking for resources, or go to Donna's website and we'll get you
Come, come,
connected
come.
one way or another.
Great. Great. Terry, this has been a delight. As always, you are just wonderful. I love the
Oh,
work you're doing.
thank
Thank you
you.
so
Well,
much.
you too. Again, I'm a big fan. I love, truly do love getting your newsletters because I
Oh,
catch up
great.
on you and all of
Yeah.
your wonderful work. And so, yeah, it's just always so wonderful to have you. And thank you
Mm, thank
again
you.
as a survivor for all the work you do.
Oh,
Just a
thank
blessing.
you.
So,
Thank
all
you.
right. Okay, well, everyone, thanks for joining us today on the Healing Place podcast. And remember, until next time, be gentle with yourself. Thanks. Hey, everybody. Teri Wellbrock here. Just wanted to thank you again for being a part of this healing space and my hashtag Hope for Healing journey. Thank you for sharing, liking, inviting others to join, listening in. You've really helped this show blossom. It has now been downloaded in 136 countries and is in the top 2% globally out of 3.2 million shows, which is just amazing. And it's all because of you and your tuning in and inviting others and sharing and liking and loving. And your reviews on Apple really help too. My goal is to hit 100 5-star reviews by the end of the year. And I am closing in on that. So if you are listening in on Apple or Apple Podcasts, please go and rate the show and leave a review if you absolutely love it. And I would be most appreciative. Also, if you would like to receive my monthly Hope for Healing newsletter, please be sure to go to teriwellbrock.com. It's Teri, just one R, WELLBROCK.com. And I have a gift to send you for signing up for that monthly Hope for Healing newsletter. Plus, there are many other resources listed on that page, including a resource library. All right. Thanks. Bye-bye.